So I finally decided to join the ranks of, I don't know, whatever the fuck, and just decided to use a filter. For once in my videos, Saturn Chronicles 12, I think I might call it, I don't know. I'll change the title like after the video. So Saturn Chronicles 12. So I've heard word that, well, I've looked it up, I've read about it in articles, that people with Down syndrome and people with severe dementia or moderate to severe dementia, when they get COVID, if the COVID gets particularly bad, these people are being hit with a do not resuscitate order, which is really, it's really quite harrowing when you think about it. And my first thought was, you know, of course, because I'm an embittered cynic, my first thought wasn't, oh, this is absolutely terrible, this is absolutely horrible. My first thought was, okay, so how long is it going to be before they get around to the people with psychosis and people who are diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, diagnosed with psychosis of the heavy kind? How long is it before they turn around and, you know, they do the same thing to victims of pharmaceutical abuse or psychiatric abuse? Because that train's never late. I mean, we've seen this before with the, you know, with Nazi Germany. Now people are starting to put together that, you know, that Nazi Germany is being, I don't know. Now people are starting to put together that there's a Fourth Reich when it's far too late to do anything. And yeah, I mean, I saw this coming. I mean, it's only a matter of time before mentally ill people were going to be targeted first for extermination in some way. But then again, you have to cause the mental illnesses, don't you? And, you know, mental illnesses are, you know, usually caused through infrasound, infrared technology, laser technology. So basically the illnesses are caused first in a variety of ways, and then what they do from there is they basically create roundabout ways to exterminate the, you know, people who have the illnesses that have been caused. It is a Nazi tactic. It's like it's a thing where it is a Nazi tactic where it's believed that if your body can take all kinds of illnesses and all kinds of pressures and it can still perform optimally, then you're considered a person of worth. So it kind of ties into that. So all the people that are diagnosed with anxiety, depression, like, watch out, my guy. Like psychosis, watch out. The queer community, because the queer community is, you know what kind of government we're dealing with. You know what kind of governments we're dealing with. They still treat queer folk as, you know, as having paraphilias. So queer folk need to watch out. Anyone with mental health disabilities needs to watch out, even though being queer is not a mental health disability. Anybody who has fallen for the identity politics, they really need to watch out. You know, they've tricked us into co-signing with our own genocide. Because now anything that even remotely criticizes the status quo in terms of allopathic medicine is considered a conspiracy theorist. Not only a conspiracy theorist, but it's associated with white supremacy to throw everyone off the scent. So it's going to start with the severely mentally ill, the do not resuscitate thing, but it's not going to end there. And I have to admit, I was expecting that mentally ill people would be rounded up at some point, or, you know, it would slowly become a sort of open air Holocaust situation. I mean, it already is an open air Holocaust. I suspected that this would happen. I just didn't understand the ways in which it would happen, which means that, you know, intellectually, I couldn't really piece it together. But it's like now I'm seeing it in front of me. It's like, yeah, all angles, multiple angles. They're immobilizing people. They're causing brain traumas that are causing mental illness. Mental illness can be very easily synthesized with brain traumas, especially with sonic weaponry and energetic weaponry. So this is what I see. I don't see the do not resuscitate order thing stopping with, COVID sufferers of Down syndrome and people with moderate to severe dementia. I don't see it stopping there. I personally believe that anybody diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia or diagnosed with psychosis is next. Now, it's a complex process. It's a long and complex process. But I think that's where it's heading next. Okay? That's what I believe. And yeah, we really got to watch out. Anybody who isn't white, male, Christian, or on the side of white patriarchal supremacy right now, we got to watch out. We always had to watch out. You see how quickly everything turned. The only thing that happened was that people became more confident in themselves. And that was enough to turn the tide back. We've really got to be careful at this point. And, and when I say be careful, I don't mean avoid telling the truth. I mean, we have to tell the truth at every single opportunity we get. We really got to get in these people's faces. Because if, we have to let these people know if they're going to genocide us, they're not going to do it without us fighting. We've got to let them know. We've got to let them know they can't get away with this. Because this is atrocious. I mean, So, yeah, that's what I see happening. So, when you're diagnosed with a particular mental illness, you kill multiple birds with one stone. Evidence is inadmissible in court. And if the do not resuscitate orders expand, once you're diagnosed as paranoid schizophrenic or diagnosed as anything like that, but that's just a theory that I have. Don't take my word for it. I'm only basing it on stuff that I've researched and, the history of Nazism. That's all I'm basing it on. It just looks very, very similar to me. It's just that what they've done is they've kind of, they've done switcheroo. So basically they've associated the people who know the truth about how the world really works, who know about the social engineering and the strategic urban planning and the unlawful experimentation, social behavioral experimentation, and the unlawful defense and pharmaceutical experimentation. All the people who know about that, they're being lumped in with white supremacists or racial supremacists or any type of supremacy, right? So they're being lumped in with those types of people. And then the ones who are lovey-dovey and love everybody and accept everybody, they're being lumped in with the ones who believe in science. I'm thinking science ain't a fucking religion, my guy. I believe in alchemy. And alchemy doesn't exclude science. It doesn't exclude the spiritual. It doesn't exclude anything. When you believe in either one thing or the other, you believe in religion alone, you become a weapon. You believe in science alone, you become a tool. So I don't believe in either science or religion. I believe in everything. Alchemy. Alchemy is everything. And it's alchemy that is the only reason why I've been able to put together everything that I've been able to put together with regards to how society actually works. It always starts with the mentally vulnerable and then it goes into racial caste. I bet you any money. It's already started. It's already started. And the ones who are supposed to know how this works, they're being bamboozled into believing mainstream stories about this COVID business. Bamboozled. Not only even just about COVID, but about Havana syndrome, about conservatorship abuse, about life insurance fraud. They're being bamboozled into believing so much bullshit. And I'm thinking, you're supposed to, you're the marginalized ones. You're supposed to know how this works. You're supposed to know how this works. If you're a person of color, if you're a queer person, if you're a woman, you're supposed to know. If you're poor, if you're vulnerable, you're supposed to know how this works. How do you not know how this works? How do you not know that science has been used to exterminate people before and will be used to exterminate people again? How do you not understand that religion is not the only thing that's been used to terrorize people? How do you not understand, and how do you not get that? So, yeah, that Down syndrome thing, that really, it kind of messed me up a little bit. I'm not going to lie, it really messed me up. I just feel that that's a really evil thing to do. And of course, inclusion groups are fighting against it, but it's too little too late. People always want to get in their feelings when it doesn't mean anything anymore. They always want to get, people always want to get in their feelings about things like this when it is far too late to do anything. These types of measures have been not even years in the making, decades in the making. And now we want to get outraged. It's too late for that. It's too late for that. So my thing is to everyone, just buckle up and keep speaking out. Don't let them get away with it. Don't let them get away with it. Make noise. Make noise and let people know they're not going to get away with entrapping people out of their homes. They're not going to get away with killing people. They're not going to get away with torturing people. They're not going to get away with causing mental illnesses and then exterminating those same people they cause the illnesses in. They're not going to get away with it. And they're certainly not going to get away with xenophobic bullshit like targeting people of color, targeting women, targeting the vulnerable, targeting the disabled, targeting queer folk. They're not going to get away with it. We have to let them know, and we have to wise up. But then, when we do rise up and when we do start speaking out, it's not going to be for the short term because we're too late for the short term. When it comes to short-term solutions, we always have to assume that we're too late, because we usually are. And the reason for that is that we wait until something feels comfortable. Not for something to feel right or for something to feel wrong. We wait until something until we feel comfortable enough to speak the truth, until we feel comfortable enough. People waited on this conservatorship thing until they felt comfortable enough to get behind someone. People waited on Havana syndrome until they felt comfortable enough to look it up and to talk about it. And their comfort usually revolves around mainstream media reporting something. So people waited until they were comfortable to know the truth before they started embracing it. Because, what humans tend to do is we tend to behave like animals, and then we try to rationalize it. This is animal behavior, waiting until something is pleasing to our senses before, or feels comfortable to us before we decide to listen to anybody or before we decide to do something. Now, I'm about to say something very, very difficult. That's very, very difficult to say and very difficult to... It's harsh. It's harsh. It's really harsh. When I think about the struggle of targeted individuals and the struggles of black folk and the struggles of women and the struggles of the poor and the struggles of... This is what I've learned. The reason why people often don't do things, don't act until it's too late, is because freeing people of color, and especially black people, freeing women, ensuring greater socioeconomic justice, and looking after the vulnerable, we've got to be honest with ourselves now. All of these things which revolve around care about other people is not the priority of a lot of people. I'm going to say it again. If you're white or if you're not black, the struggle of black people is not going to be your first priority. If you're a man, the struggle of women is not going to be your first priority. If you're straight, then the struggle of queer folk is not going to be your first priority. If you're able-bodied, the plight of disabled people is not going to be your first priority. You have to be a very specific type of person for that to be the case, for it to be your first priority. But most of the time, it's not. Our first priority is not, never will be, one another. And because of that, and it's not even just about black folk or women, or it's not even just about the marginalised, it's about everyone. The fact is that we don't really care about who's underfoot. A lot of people don't really care about who's underfoot like that. Because if we did, this world would be very different. We don't care about the vulnerable and the marginalised as much as we claim to. The only time when we really care about an issue is when that issue comes for us. And then when we fight for our rights and we find that other people are not fighting for us, then we want to turn around and say, why are you not fighting for me? Who did we fight for? Did we fight for what was right? Or did we wait until we felt comfortable doing so, until our feelings, were soothed and we were made to feel like people who could actually do something? Did we actually consider other people without being prompted? Do we consider other people without being prompted? And the answer is no. It's always going to be no. And this is another hard part that we have to deal with, right? When it comes to doing good in the world, we have to think about what people actually want. I know this sounds awful to say, but when it comes to, fighting for other people's rights and things like that, moral incentive is weak, and it has always been weak. What people want is emotional incentive, material incentive. What am I getting out of this? Like I said before, we act like animals, and then our technology gets increasingly more advanced so that we can try to bury it. But it is what it is. We become more animal-like as time goes on. As our technology grows stronger, we become more animal-like, and therefore we become more feelings-based. What can you do for me? Why should I care about what you're doing? If I want people to fight for my rights, I've said it before, I have to care about how other people feel. It doesn't even matter if they deserve it or not. That's the really difficult part. That's the really difficult part. If I want people to care about my rights and to care about what's happening to me, it's not enough for me to demand that they care about what's going on with me. I have to care about what they want, even if it leads to an imbalance. That is literally the only way forward in a world like this. We have to care about one another's feelings. And we especially have to care about our own feelings, which means we can no longer afford to demand that one another does the things that we are supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be caring about our own feelings. That's what leads us to empathy. That's what leads us to doing the right thing, caring about our own feelings and not hiding them. But, we have to care about people's feelings even when they don't fucking deserve it. And it's awful. It's really awful to say. Imagine being a poor person and you need help and you need help. But you've got to turn around and try to make some rich person feel good about themselves before they even consider helping you. Or you have to think about what they want out of the equation. It's fucking galling. It's absolutely galling. Imagine. But that's what we have to do. We have to think about what one another wants. It's not even about what we need, it's about what we want. We have to think about what emotionally satisfies everyone. We have to think about what people want. We have to care what they want. We have to communicate. But Because we're so taken with our own pain and what's right and what's wrong, of course we don't do that. And I'm not even judging. That's just human fucking nature. Like, that we're going to do that. That's how we ended up in a situation where we were sleepwalking into our own genocide. Because we didn't care about one another's feelings or what one another wanted. We didn't care about that. We didn't care about that. We didn't care about what one another wanted or why they wanted it. We didn't care about that. All we wanted was, to just get our feelings out and not really pay attention to the other person. We were too busy trying to form an identity to make ourselves feel stable. But it's like we have to care about one another's feelings even when we don't fucking deserve that shit. And that is like one of the hardest things you have to kind of process and live with. It's so hard. It's so hard. But at the end of the day, how badly do you want peace? How badly do you want justice? How badly do you want freedom? How badly do you want love among all human beings? How badly do you want it? Because if you want it badly enough, you'll do anything it takes. Even if it means appealing to the feelings of people who don't deserve it. Even if it means understanding what they want and trying to figure that out. Even if it means that. And many of us are not ready for that. I know I'm not ready for that. You're telling me I've got to think about my fucking torturer's feelings, my murderer's feelings. You're telling me I've got to consider, the feelings of trolls and people like you. You're telling me I've got to consider their feelings before I can get what I want. I don't want it that badly. And I know it sounds like an awful thing to say, but I just don't. I don't want it that badly. Most people don't want it that badly. And that's why we're sleepwalking into genocide. We don't want to care about one another's feelings. We don't want to do that. Either we don't care or we don't want to care. And I know people are going to say, oh no, people aren't like that. Listen, the world speaks for itself. I judge things by results, my guy. I don't judge things by how people want to see themselves. I don't even judge myself by how I want to see myself. I judge the world as it is, not as I am. So, of course, people don't really care. They don't care like that. They care about what makes them feel good. And that's what we care about. We care about what makes us feel good. So if we really want to make this world a better place, we have to make sure we're happy and make one another happy. But, of course, we're not going to do that. Because, rightly so, in some cases, we're more focused on who deserves what. And it's understandable. It's understandable, fuck. It's understandable. I fucking hell. I sympathize because I'm like that too. I'm human. I'm a human being. I'm like that as well. So, yeah, no judgment over here, my guy. Seriously. But that's the way the world is. Got to care about one another's feelings. And then find the best possible solution from there. But anyway, I gotta go. I love you guys. You guys take care. This filter is so ugly. I'm not going to use this one again. Oh, but I'm glad you joined me anyway. I love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.